Occupational diseases of the construction sector and ways of protection. The occupational diseases discussed below relate to the 5 leading categories of ill health for the construction industry. Although, when compared to other industries, the construction sector has relatively low levels of reported stress, it is still a topic of concern for the industry. 8. Hand-arm vibration syndrome. Hand-arm vibration, HAV, is vibration transmitted from work processes into workers' hands and arms. It can be caused by operating handheld power tools, such as road breakers, hand-guided equipment, such as compactors, or by holding materials being processed by machines, such as pedestal grinders. Regular and frequent exposure to HAV can lead to a combination of neurological, vascular and musculoskeletal symptoms, collectively referred to as hand-arm vibration syndrome, HAVS, and this is most likely when contact with a vibrating tool or work process is a regular part of a person's job. Occasional exposure is unlikely to cause ill health. Identifying the signs and symptoms at an early stage is crucial to preventing serious long-term health effects. Effective maintenance can make big differences to vibration levels. Loose or worn parts of tools and plant create extra vibration. Blunt, damaged or inefficient tools have increased vibration and also mean tasks can take longer, increasing exposure levels. Other ways of protection include exposure monitoring. There is no legal requirement to continually monitor and record vibration exposure. A period of monitoring can help understand when and how long workers use particular tools and help with risk assessment. Health surveillance. Appropriate health surveillance is needed if workers are exposed above the exposure action value or are considered to be at risk for any other reason. If this finds a problem, it is needed to review the effectiveness of current vibration controls and improve these where appropriate. Take action to prevent further harm to the person concerned. B. Noise-induced hearing loss. Noisy is not just a nuisance, it can seriously damage construction workers' hearing. Some people can also suffer a sensation of ringing in the ears, tinnitus, which can become permanent. Once hearing has gone, it will not come back. There is no cure. Hearing aids cannot fully compensate for this loss of natural hearing. Hearing damage can have a profound effect on one's quality of life. It affects the ability to communicate, particularly in situations where there is background noise. Such background noise is common in many work and social situations. The results can lead to a sense of isolation. It may also increase the chance of being involved in an accident because it affects the ability to hear what is going on in the surrounding environment. In order to prevent unwanted effects for the hearing, it should be considered, where possible, eliminating or reducing the amount of noise made at the construction site through eliminating unnecessary noisy tasks at the design stage, using an alternative process that does not generate as much noise, e.g. block splitters instead of cut-off saws, bursting or crushing instead of pneumatic drilling, boring instead of pile driving, limiting vehicle reversing on site. Reversing alarms add to the total noise on a site. Isolating workers from noisy tasks by keeping doors and windows of vehicle cabins closed or using remote-controlled equipment, shutting down equipment, like vehicles, when they are not needed in use. C. Skin disorders. Occupational skin disease may be defined as a disease in which workplace exposure to a physical, chemical or biological agent or a mechanical force has been the cause of or played a major role in the development of the disease. Work-related dermatitis, sometimes called eczema, forms 80% of occupational skin diseases and is caused when someone comes into contact with a hazardous agent. Irritant dermatitis is caused by a non-infective agent, physical or chemical, capable of causing cell damage if applied to the skin for sufficient time and in sufficient concentration. The fine particles of cement, often mixed with sand or other aggregates to make mortar or concrete, can abrade the skin and cause irritation resulting in dermatitis. With treatment, irritant dermatitis will usually clear up, but if exposure continues over a longer period, the condition will get worse and the individual is then more susceptible to allergic dermatitis. Allergic dermatitis in susceptible individuals is caused by initial contact with a skin sensitizer, such as epoxy resins and their hardening agents, acrylic resins, formaldehyde and hardwoods, which provokes a chain of immunological events leading to sensitization. Further skin contact with that particular sensitizer can then cause allergic contact dermatitis. For employees who may be exposed to any agent known to cause skin damage, there should be arrangements to identify cases of occupational skin disorders. IO's regulations require employers to provide employees with information about the precautions that should be taken, including characteristic signs and symptoms of occupational skin disorders. D. Respiratory disease. The respiratory diseases of construction workers may include pneumoconiosis arising from silica, silicosis, or asbestos exposure, asthma and other allergic reactions, e.g. due to isocyanate paint or resin exposure. Smoking can contribute to the respiratory damage and the risk of these diseases. Occupational asthma. Occupational asthma is an important occupational health problem with serious implications for both affected individuals and their employers. For the affected individual, continued exposure to the causative agent usually leads to deteriorating asthma and the risk of severe, or, on rare occasions, fatal asthma attacks. Even if exposure ceases, the more severely affected individuals may still be left with persistent asthma and chronic disability. Respirable crystalline silica (RCS) exposure. Occupational exposure to RCS in construction work occurs in concrete removal, demolition work, tunnel construction, concrete or granite cutting, drilling, sanding and grinding. Other people in the vicinity of such work may also be exposed. Asbestos. Where workers are exposed to airborne levels of asbestos above the action levels specified in the applicable IO's regulations, then the provisions laid down will apply and a doctor must be appointed for the purposes of health surveillance. E. Musculoskeletal disorders. Musculoskeletal disorders, MSD, are problems affecting the muscles, tendons, ligaments, nerves, or other soft tissues and joints and can cause conditions such as low back pain, joint injuries, and repetitive strain injuries of various sorts. Injury can happen while doing any activity that involves some movement of the body, such as heavy lifting.